Chapter 1: The Hidden Portal. It was supposed to be a routine survey. The kind that had become almost boring for deep space exploration teams after years of mapping star systems and dead planets. But the moment the crew of the Orion's Reach landed on LV-117, nothing felt routine about it. The planet had been designated as barren, uninhabitable, and devoid of any significant resources. So why had the ship's long-range scanners picked up a faint energy signature just days ago? Captain Maya Volkov didn't like mysteries, but her crew was running low on fuel and needed supplies. LV-117 was their only option. What harm could a few scans do? The planet's surface was a desolate wasteland, with jagged mountains and endless fields of red dust stretching into the horizon. The sun, a distant orange orb, cast long, eerie shadows as the crew set up camp near the source of the signal. "Captain, I've got something," Lieutenant Daniels called out. He was kneeling by what appeared to be a rocky outcrop, his scanner beeping furiously. Maya joined him, frowning as she glanced at the readings. Beneath the layers of rock and dust, there was something artificial, something old. "What the hell is this?" she muttered, crouching down for a closer look. Daniels wiped away more of the dust, revealing a smooth, black surface beneath the rubble. It was too uniform to be natural, and as more of it was exposed, it became clear they were looking at some kind of door, massive, ancient, and clearly not human. "There's no record of any previous civilizations on LV-117, Maya said, more to herself than to Daniels. "What is this doing here?" Daniels' fingers brushed against the door's surface, and it responded. A low hum filled the air, followed by a series of alien symbols lighting up across its surface. The symbols rearranged themselves in a pattern, almost like a code. The door began to open. Maya instinctively took a step back as a cold wind rushed out from the darkness beyond. The air was heavy, charged with an energy she couldn't explain, and for a moment, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. If you enjoy the adventures and stories we share, consider subscribing to our channel. By joining our community, you'll stay updated on all our latest content and become part of a vibrant group of fellow fans. Your support not only motivates us to create even more exciting and engaging material but also helps us improve and expand our offerings. So don't miss out, hit that subscribe button and embark on this journey with us. We can't wait to share more amazing stories with you. "Captain," Daniels whispered, his voice trembling. "We weren't supposed to find this." Maya's heart raced. Whatever was behind that door, it was ancient, and alive in ways she couldn't understand. "Everyone back to the ship," she ordered, her voice sharp. "We're sealing this thing off. Now." But before they could react, a low rumble shook the ground. The door creaked open wider, and from within, a glowing blue light began to pulse, growing brighter with every passing second. "We need to move!" Maya shouted, but it was too late. The light engulfed them, dragging them into the unknown. Chapter 2: Into the Abyss. When Maya opened her eyes, she was no longer on LV-117. She was standing on smooth, metallic ground beneath an endless sky of shifting, iridescent clouds. The alien symbols from the door floated in the air around her, rearranging themselves in patterns she couldn't comprehend. Her head throbbed with the sheer magnitude of it all. The rest of the crew was scattered nearby, groaning as they came to their senses. "Where are we?" Daniels asked, his voice shaky. What happened?" Maya had no answers. They had been pulled into something far beyond their understanding. This wasn't a planet, or even a place in any sense they knew. It was a construct, an artificial realm created by something ancient, powerful, and alien. The ground beneath them pulsed with energy, and in the distance, towering structures reached up into the sky, twisting and bending in impossible geometries. It was like they had stepped into a world outside of time and space. "This place, it's not natural," Lieutenant Reyes said, scanning their surroundings with wide eyes. "We're inside some kind of structure, but it's massive, bigger than anything I've ever seen. We need to figure out how to get back," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "There's got to be a way out." But as they started moving, the symbols that had floated around them began to coalesce, forming a pathway of light. It seemed to lead deeper into the strange realm, toward the largest of the structures in the distance. "I don't like this," Daniels muttered. "It feels like we're being watched." Maya couldn't shake the same feeling. Every step they took seemed to draw them further into the heart of this place, and the air around them felt heavy, oppressive. Whatever had built this place was still here, waiting. They followed the path of light, cautiously making their way toward the towering structure. As they got closer, they could see that it wasn't just a building, it was a monolith, an impossibly large tower covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen on the door. The symbols pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. At the base of the tower, a massive doorway stood open, beckoning them inside. "This is a bad idea," Rhea said, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya didn't disagree, but they had no other choice. They needed answers, and whatever was inside that tower was the only way they were going to get them. They stepped through the doorway, and immediately, the atmosphere changed. The air was thick with energy, and the walls seemed to vibrate with an ancient, incomprehensible power. The further they went, the more oppressive the sensation became, until it felt like they were walking through water. Finally, they reached the center of the tower, a vast, circular chamber with a single object floating in the middle. It was a sphere, about the size of a human head, covered in the same alien symbols. It pulsed with a soft, blue light, and the energy radiating from it was overwhelming. Daniels reached out a hand toward the sphere, but Maya stopped him. "Don't touch it." He pulled his hand back reluctantly, but the sphere seemed to respond to their presence. The symbols on its surface shifted, and suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. "You are not the first to find us," the voice said, deep and resonant, speaking in a language they didn't recognize, but somehow understood. "But you may be the last." Maya's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. The sphere pulsed again, and the voice answered. "We are the architects of the gate. And your kind has opened the door to a war you cannot win." The crew exchanged horrified glances. "War? With who? What war?" Maya demanded. "What are you talking about?" The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, and the tower trembled. The sphere floated closer, its light intensifying. "The door you opened was never meant for your species," the voice said, a sense of finality in its tone. "Beyond it lies a realm of ancient beings, beings who see your galaxy as nothing more than a tool. You have awakened them, and now they come." A cold dread filled Maya's chest. They had triggered something catastrophic. "Is there a way to stop them?" Reyes asked, her voice desperate. The sphere dimmed slightly, as if considering. "There is a key," the voice said slowly. "But it lies far beyond this place, in the ruins of the first builders. You must find it before they cross the threshold. If they succeed, your galaxy will fall." Maya clenched her fists, her mind racing. The door they had found wasn't just an artifact. It was a gateway to something far worse. And they had opened it. Before she could ask anything else, the tower began to shake violently. The walls cracked, and the ground split open beneath them. "They're here!" Daniels shouted. The crew ran for the exit, but as they reached the doorway, a blinding light filled the chamber. Maya turned just in time to see a massive, shadowy figure emerge from the crack in the floor, its eyes glowing with a cold, merciless light. "We're too late," Maya whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. The architects were waking up. Chapter 3: The Awakening. The tower shook with increasing violence, the very walls groaning as the alien energy surged. Maya grabbed Lieutenant Daniels by the arm and pulled him toward the exit, her mind racing. The sphere's warning echoed in her head. The architects had been awakened. And now, they were standing face to face with something far beyond their understanding. The shadowy figure rising from the floor was enormous, at least 10 feet tall, its body shifting and warping like liquid metal. Its eyes burned with an intense, cold light, devoid of emotion, yet full of purpose. It wasn't just a creature, it was an embodiment of the architect's power. "We need to get out of here, now!" Maya shouted over the roar of the collapsing tower. The air felt charged, like static before a lightning strike. As they scrambled for the exit, the towering figure extended an arm, and a wave of energy shot toward them. The blast ripped through the air, hitting the walls of the tower with a deafening explosion. Maya barely managed to pull Daniels to the ground before the shockwave passed over them. "What the hell is that thing?" Reyes yelled, firing her plasma rifle at the figure. The bolts of energy fizzled into nothing before they even reached the being, as if reality itself was bending around it. "Keep moving!" Maya barked, adrenaline flooding her veins. Her instincts were screaming that this wasn't a fight they could win, not here, not now. They burst out of the tower, back into the open, alien landscape. The sky had darkened, and the shifting clouds overhead now swirled violently, as if reacting to the awakening of the architects. Lightning crackled across the horizon, illuminating the jagged mountains in eerie flashes. Behind them, the ground continued to tremble as the tower buckled and collapsed in on itself, but the shadowy figure didn't slow its pursuit. It was gliding through the air toward them, effortlessly closing the distance. "There's no way we're outrunning that thing!" Daniels panted, struggling to keep up. Maya scanned the horizon, her mind racing for a plan. They needed cover, a place to regroup, anything that could buy them time. And then she saw it, far in the distance, a second structure, much smaller than the tower but still intact. "There!" she pointed. "Head for the ruins! It's our only chance!" The crew sprinted across the red barren landscape, their boots kicking up clouds of dust. Behind them, the architect's figure hovered, watching, waiting. It didn't need to rush. It knew there was no escape. They reached the ruins just as another wave of energy shot out from the architect. This time, it hit the ground mere feet from where they stood, sending them sprawling. The air crackled with the aftershock, and Maya could feel the hairs on her arms stand up. "We're sitting ducks out here!" Reyes shouted, breathless, as they took cover behind the crumbling walls of the ruined structure. Maya's mind raced, searching for options. Their weapons were useless. Running wasn't going to save them. The sphere had said there was a key, some way to stop the architects, but that key was somewhere else. Somewhere far beyond this world. "We need to figure out what it wants," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Maybe it's not here to kill us. Maybe there's another way." Daniel scoffed, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. "Did you see that thing? It's not exactly here for tea and negotiation." But Maya wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on the symbols etched into the walls of the ruins. They were the same symbols they had seen on the door, on the sphere, part of the same language, the same code. And for the first time, she felt like they weren't just random patterns. "They're a map," she whispered, more to herself than to the others. "These symbols, they're coordinates." Reyes frowned, glancing at the wall. "Coordinates? To what?" "The key," Maya said, realization dawning on her. "The key the sphere was talking about. It's not on this planet, but these symbols, they point the way." Daniels looked skeptical. "You're saying this is some kind of ancient GPS? That's a hell of a leap." Maya stood up, her heart pounding. "If we don't try, we're dead anyway. The sphere said the key was our only chance. And if these coordinates can lead us to it..." She didn't finish. The ground beneath them trembled again as the architect's figure descended from the sky, hovering just beyond the ruins. Its glowing eyes bore into them, as if reading their every thought. It knew they had discovered something, and it wasn't going to let them leave. "We need to transmit these coordinates to the Orion's reach," Maya said, moving quickly to her wrist console. "We get them to the ship, and we get the hell off this planet." Daniels hesitated. "And what if the key is another trap? What if we're just playing into the architect's hands?" Maya paused. The thought had crossed her mind. But there was no time to debate. The architect was closing in, and their options were running out. "If we don't try, there won't be a galaxy left to argue about," she said firmly. "We have to trust the sphere." Before anyone could object, she tapped a few buttons on her wrist console, uploading the coordinates to the ship's NAV systems. "Coordinates are locked in," she said, breathless. Let's move. The crew broke from cover, sprinting toward the nearest ridge where their shuttle was hidden. Behind them, the architect's figure shimmered, and the air around it warped violently. With a wave of its hand, the ruins behind them were vaporized in an instant, the stone and metal crumbling into dust. We're almost there, Reyes shouted, her voice strained. The shuttle came into view just over the ridge, its engines already powering up as it detected the crew's approach. Maya could feel her lungs burning, every step a struggle against the suffocating weight of the planet's thin atmosphere. They piled into the shuttle, and as soon as the hatch sealed, Maya slammed her hand onto the console. Take off! She yelled at the ship's AI. The engines roared to life, and the shuttle lifted off the ground, soaring toward the Orion's Reach in orbit. Below, the architect's figure watched them go, its cold eyes still burning with that same, patient malice. Chapter 4: The Other Side. Back on the Orion's Reach, the crew wasted no time. The coordinates were already being fed into the ship's navigation systems, calculating the fastest route to the location marked by the ancient symbols. Maya stood at the helm, staring out at the swirling planet below. The architect hadn't followed them, at least, not yet. But she could still feel its presence, like a shadow hanging over her mind. We've got the coordinates locked in, Daniels said, his voice tight with tension. But it's far. Like, other side of the galaxy far. Maya nodded. We're running out of time. Set the course. Maximum speed. Reyes looked up from her console, her brow furrowed in concern. Captain, the energy signature from the gate we opened is spreading fast. It's not just LV-117 anymore, it's spreading to other systems. If we don't stop it soon... We will, Maya interrupted, though her stomach churned with doubt. We have to. The ship lurched as it jumped to faster-than-light travel, and the crew fell into a tense silence. They were racing against the clock, hurtling toward an ancient, forgotten location that could hold the key to saving the galaxy, or doom them all. But as they sped through the void, a new alert flashed on the main screen. Captain, Daniels said, his voice shaking. We've got something on our tail. Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. A massive, dark shape had appeared on their scanners, an architect ship, impossibly large and closing in fast. It's followed us, Reyes whispered. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as the architect's ship drew closer, its sheer size blotting out the stars. The crew had thought they'd escaped, but the architects were far from done with them. And they were running out of time. Chapter 5: The Last Stand. The tension in the Orion's Reach was palpable as the massive shadow of the architect's ship loomed closer. Maya could feel the weight of her crew's fear pressing down on her. They had narrowly escaped one nightmare, only to find themselves facing another. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Maya commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Reyes, get weapons online. We may need them. Daniels worked furiously at his console, trying to calculate their best escape route. Captain, it's too big. We can't outrun it. It's moving too fast. Then we fight, Maya said, determination hardening in her chest. We have to buy ourselves some time to reach those coordinates. The architect's ship filled the view screen, a dark monolith of alien technology that seemed to absorb the light around it. Its surface was covered in shifting symbols, and Maya felt a chill run down her spine. This was the true face of the architects. Weapons are online, Reyes shouted, her hands flying over the controls. But I don't know how effective they'll be against that thing. We'll have to find out, Maya replied, her mind racing. Aim for the power core, the brightest section. That should disable their systems. The ship shook as the architect vessel unleashed a volley of energy beams, striking the Orion's Reach with tremendous force. Alarms blared as the ship rocked violently, throwing crew members off balance. Shields at 70%! Daniels yelled, his fingers flying over the controls as he attempted to stabilize the ship. Return fire! Maya commanded, gripping the armrests of her captain's chair. Reyes locked onto the target and fired a barrage of plasma shots, but they fizzled against the architect ship's defenses. Direct hit! Reyes shouted, her eyes wide. But it barely fazed them. We need to get closer, Maya said, her voice grim. If we're going to have a chance, we have to exploit any weakness. The architect ship continued its relentless assault, and the Orion's Reach shuddered under the impact of another blast. The shields flickered dangerously low. Captain, we can't keep this up! Daniels shouted, panic creeping into his voice. We're taking too much damage! Then we'll have to be smart about it, Maya replied, formulating a plan. Reyes, hold our position. Daniels, prepare to engage the jump drive. We'll need it ready for a quick getaway. But we have to create a distraction first. Before they could act, the architect ship unleashed another barrage. The Orion's Reach rocked violently, sending Maya sprawling to the floor. She struggled to her feet, heart racing. Reyes! Can you target their propulsion systems? She yelled. I can try, Reyes responded, determination sparking in her eyes. But it's a risk. Do it! We need to slow them down, Maya shouted. As Reyes locked onto the propulsion systems, Maya glanced at Daniels, who was monitoring the readings with a furrowed brow. Keep an eye on those energy signatures, she ordered. If they change, we need to jump immediately. Got it, he replied, but his tone was tense. They're charging something big. Firing! Reyes shouted, unleashing another barrage of plasma at the architect ship's propulsion unit. This time, a satisfying explosion erupted from the enemy vessel. Yes! Maya exclaimed, but her victory was short-lived as the architect ship retaliated with a massive energy blast. The force of it hit the Orion's Reach, knocking out the remaining shields and sending the ship spiraling. Impact imminent! Daniels cried. Brace for impact! The ship crashed through a nearby asteroid field, the rocky debris slamming into the hull. Alarms blared as the crew struggled to regain control. Get us back on course! Maya yelled, but the ship was badly damaged. They were losing power, and the architect ship was closing in. Charging jump drive! Daniels shouted, sweat pouring down his face. But it's going to take a few seconds. Make it faster! Maya ordered, desperation clawing at her throat. They had to get to the coordinates. The only chance to save the galaxy lay there. As the architect ship loomed closer, Maya could feel its presence pressing against them, an oppressive weight. The dark being was determined to finish what it had started. Jump drive ready! Daniels shouted. Now! Maya yelled. In an instant, the Orion's Reach jolted as the jump drive activated, a blinding flash of light engulfing the ship. The familiar sensation of being pulled through space gripped them, and for a moment, everything felt weightless. Then, just as quickly, they were out. They emerged in a distant system, the stars bright and clear. But they had no time to celebrate. The coordinates had led them to a small, rocky planet at the edge of the system. It was here that the key might be hidden. Scan for structures, Maya instructed, her heart pounding. We need to find the key before they catch up to us. Daniels activated the sensors, and the readings came back with startling clarity. There's something down there. It matches the readings from the ruins. Let's go! Maya commanded, urgency driving her forward. Reyes, prep the shuttle. We need to get down there, now. As they made their way to the shuttle bay, a new alert sounded. The architect ship had followed them through the jump. Captain, they're in pursuit! Daniels shouted, his eyes wide with fear. Get us down to the surface. Now! Maya ordered. The stakes were higher than ever. If they didn't find the key, they'd face the wrath of the architects again, and this time, they might not escape. Chapter 6: The Key to Survival. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere, entering the planet's rocky terrain. Maya felt a sense of urgency mixed with determination. This was it, their last chance. Where's the structure? Reyes asked, scanning the terrain. Straight ahead, Daniels said, pointing to a distant peak that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The readings are strongest there. As they landed, Maya and the crew disembarked, weapons drawn. The air was thick with tension, and the ground felt alive beneath their feet, vibrating with the energy of something ancient. "Stay alert," Maya cautioned, her instincts honed to a razor's edge. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." They moved quickly toward the structure, a large, jagged temple of dark stone covered in alien symbols similar to those they had seen before. The moment they entered, the air crackled with energy, and the symbols began to glow in response to their presence. "There's something here," Maya said, her heart racing as she stepped further inside. "We're close." In the center of the chamber, a pedestal stood, and atop it rested a small, intricate device, glowing with the same blue energy as the sphere from the architect's tower. "The key," Maya whispered, moving closer. "We found it." But as she reached for it, the ground trembled, and a familiar dark figure appeared at the entrance, the architect's form materializing out of the shadows. "It has come to this," it said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "You would dare claim what is not yours?" Maya's heart raced. "We're not here to take anything. We need to stop you." The architect's eyes blazed with a cold light. "You are too late. Your actions have already set events in motion that cannot be undone." Maya felt a surge of panic. "If we use the key, we can close the door. You don't have to destroy us." The architect laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. "You think a mere key can thwart the will of the architects? You are mistaken." "Enough!" Maya shouted, gripping the key tightly. "We'll stop you, one way or another." The chamber vibrated as the architect advanced, dark energy swirling around it like a storm. The very walls seemed to pulse in response, a warning of the impending confrontation. "Do not force my hand," the architect warned, its form shifting ominously. "You cannot win." Maya felt the energy of the key pulsing in her hand, and in that moment she made a decision. "We'll see about that." With a surge of determination, she activated the key. The symbols around the chamber flared to life, illuminating the dark space with blinding light. The architect recoiled, its form flickering as the power of the key surged. "No!" it screamed, and the chamber shook violently as the energies collided. Maya held her ground, focusing on the power of the key. She could feel the pull of the architect's energy trying to overwhelm her, but she refused to back down. With each pulse of light, the ancient symbols began to resonate, forming a protective barrier between her and the architect. "Close the door!" Maya yelled to her crew. "We can do this!" Daniels and Reyes joined her, channeling their own energy into the key. The room was filled with a blinding light as the key activated, creating a portal to seal the architects away. The architect's figure writhed in fury, its eyes burning like twin stars. "You cannot contain us!" But Maya knew they had to try. As the portal began to close, she felt the very fabric of reality shifting around them. The chamber trembled, the walls cracking under the immense pressure of the energies colliding. The last remnants of the architect's form screamed in rage as the portal sealed, locking it away. The chamber erupted with energy, and Maya and her crew were thrown back as the structure collapsed around them. Chapter 7: A New Dawn. When Maya awoke, she found herself lying on the ground outside the ruins. The sun was shining, and the sky was clear. For a moment, she thought it had all been a dream, but the destruction around her told a different story. "Captain?" Daniel's voice broke through her daze. He was crouched nearby, looking battered but alive. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," Maya said, struggling to her feet. "What happened?" "We did it," Reyes said, her eyes wide with disbelief. "We sealed the portal. The architect is gone, for now." Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was mixed with a deep sense of loss. They had fought hard, but the war was far from over. The galaxy still faced threats, and the architects would not be easily forgotten. "We need to get back to the ship," Maya said, taking a deep breath. "We have to report this to the Alliance. They need to know what we found, and what we sealed away." As they began to make their way back, Maya glanced back at the ruins. The ancient symbols still glowed faintly, a reminder of the power that lay beyond and the dangers that lurked in the dark. But now they had hope. They had survived against impossible odds, and as long as they were alive, they could fight back. And maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to turn the tide. As they reached their shuttle, a distant rumble echoed across the sky. Maya turned, eyes narrowing. The remnants of the architect's ship were still lingering in orbit, and its presence loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon. "They'll come back," Maya said, a grim determination settling in. "But this time, we'll be ready." With the power of the key and their newfound resolve, the crew of the Orion's Reach set their course for home. The war was far from over, but they had taken the first step toward securing their galaxy's future. And somewhere, out in the depths of space, the architects were watching,